Hi there, RC Girl here. Today we're going to talk about the Gmade GS02 Buffalo Pickup Kit. This comes with overdrive. This is actually the first rig that I've had set up with overdrive gearing. I built this over the past 2 weeks. We're going to talk about all the features, what I spec'd it with, and of course, take it outside and give it its first trail run. Stay tuned. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. Here you're going to find RC reviews, tips and tricks, run videos, flight videos, and other things related to RC. So if you guys want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, head over to my Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon where I do some behind the scenes stuff, so don't miss it. I haven't done a video in a while, so apologies about that. All right, let's talk about the rig. Excited to try out my very first kit with Gmade. They are based out of Korea. I tracked this package all the way from South Korea all the way to the States. So this was a completely different platform for me to try out, and it was a lot of fun. I'd say it's kind of in the same class as far as quality as Red Cat Racing, so it's going to be great for one of your first builds ever. The GS02 platform from Gmade has been out for a little while. They have a couple other different body styles, but they just released it with the pickup body, and I think it looks really sick. I would say it looks like a Chevy, but it is an unlicensed body. So this is a 12.3 inch wheelbase, going to be comparable in size to something like your SCX 10.3. It is an adjustable wheelbase platform, but you'll need to pick up those links separately. And worth mentioning, I'll put links to all of this in the description box below, both the parts that I use and the option parts. It's also an assembly kit, so you have to put it together yourself, and you're going to need to supply your own electronics. The instructions are actually written really nicely. I like that all the screws are individually packed and labeled so you can keep track of which screws you need at any one time, and you don't have to measure them. Some of them are like 2 millimeters off, so you just pick the right bag, makes it nice and easy. I also recommend this very, very cool stand from Ernst RC. Made the build so awesome. So I actually use my desk as a workstation for my day job, and I don't have a dedicated RC station. This hobby stand made it super easy to just pack up everything in the build as I was doing it and just store it away. It has these magnetic strips, a place to store your tools, and different compartments. And it has these little pegs here that are modular, so you can move it around as you have different parts of the build completed. You're going to need to pick up a steering and a shift servo, a speed control and a motor, battery charger, and a receiver transmitter. I'm going to talk about what I spec'd mine with. I actually went with a 2-in-1 combo from Spektrum, one of their newer releases. Motor and speed control in one motor can unit. Saves a lot of space. We'll talk about that in more detail. For the build, you're also going to need a couple tools, so I would recommend a nice set of hex bits from 1.5 to 2.5. I use these ones from Power Hobby. You can use them with an electric screwdriver. They also sent me a new hex driver kit, so stoked. Really nice to have nice, fresh bits. It's mostly hex, but it does have a couple screws that use Phillips head, specifically for attaching the grill and the lights to the body. It does come with grease and shock oil. I ended up using some grease that I had from Blood Brothers Graphics. This is the Bloody Lotion. Worked really nicely. So out of the box, some really cool features is this comes with overdrive. This is actually the first rig that I've had set up with overdrive gearing. So if you're new to overdrive, they're putting that in a lot more rigs these days. I'm sure you've seen the new release from Vanquish, the Phoenix, which has adjustable overdrive. How overdrive works is your front wheels are going to spin at a faster rate than your rear. That's going to give you a tighter turning radius. It's also going to help with getting over those rocky features. It's really going to dig in those front wheels a little bit more. This one comes stock with 14% overdrive. They also have separate gear sets you can buy if you want no overdrive, or if you want to go up to 22% overdrive, which is a lot. I ended up going with the 14% overdrive. It also has a 2-speed transmission. I wanted to utilize the high and low speed. That's going to be really fun to play around with out on the trails. You can go high speed, getting to the trailhead, and then slow it down when you approach some features. For the transmission assembly, it does use a ton of E-clips, which are not my favorite thing to snap in place. I feel like I dropped a ton or like snapped them across the room. So just be aware of that. There's a couple different sizes of E-clips as well. Otherwise, really nice metal gears. Actually, I had to go back and disassemble the transmission because I forgot to put one of the set pins in place. As I was shifting into the high speed, it wouldn't engage. The wheels weren't turning. Disassembled the transmission and found that one of the gears wasn't spinning because I didn't have that lock pin in place. So somewhat technical assembly for a transmission. I ended up going with one of the new Spektrum 2-in-1 motor ESC combos. It comes in both 1400 and 2300 kV. I went with the higher kV option for this because of the 2-speed. It might be a little bit much. I would say on 3S is a little bit gnarly. It probably would have been just fine on 1400. This motor ESC is 2 and 3S compatible. I'm going to be running on 2S because I went with the higher kV option. To program this, you need a separate Spektrum programming card. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. Unlike the Hobbywing system, it doesn't come with a programming card, so to make any changes, you're going to need to pick one of those up. Here I have a 2S LiPo from Nitro Hobbies. This is a 5800 milliamp muscle pack. I'm actually going to be plugging that into an XT60 Y splitter so I can plug in the bumper lights and also the speed control. This has an on-off switch, so we're going to power that on, giving it a short press. If you do a long press, it's going to go into throttle calibration. So for your first time, you're going to want to make sure that you calibrate the throttle. And then we're going to take it outside. I'm going to show you guys high speed and low speed shifting. Alrighty, so we have the rig all turned on, running on 2S. You can notice that motor is super, super quiet. Nice and smooth too, really, really nice. I also set the throttle to about 50% rate on my transmitter. And I think I also did 25% reverse speed on the speed control itself. I think our drag brake's set pretty good. Drag brake rate, you can also adjust how quickly the drag brake engages. This one seems pretty nice to me. Let's check our reverse speed. That's full reverse. Nice. Some people like a lot of punch when you have reverse so that you can kind of get out of sticky situations, but I don't really like my reverse to be that jolty. All right, let's see how slow we can go. This is pretty much as slow as I can go without stopping. It's kind of cool. So this one also has field-oriented control. So what that means is that when your rig approaches a feature, a brush motor will tend to stall out, so your rig will just basically stop moving once it approaches something unless you apply more throttle. But this one will keep your same speed. It's kind of nice. All right, so here's our high speed. I'm going to flip it into low speed. So quite a bit of gear reduction there. Kind of nice. For my servos, went with Power Hobby servos. I've had a lot of luck with these in my past builds. I usually go with the 729 MBL. This one I'm trying the 579 milligram option. You can run off high voltage. It's also waterproof out of the box. Really nice. This one's going to be a little bit faster than the 729, but a little bit lower torque. Because this is sort of a light truck, I think that's going to be a really nice option for this build. The chassis can accommodate a full-size shift servo. I've had some issues in the past with the micro servos blowing. Hopefully the full-size shift servo will hold up a little bit better. I ended up going with a 209 milligram servo from Power Hobby. It's my first time trying it out, but so far so good. Make sure that you set your endpoints so you're not overextending your servo arm. Took a little time to make sure I got it right and set those endpoints correctly. Really nice servo saver mechanism here too. Also worth mentioning that the GS02F kit comes with a couple different servo arms to accommodate different spline counts and servos. Not to call out other companies that don't do that, but that was really nice and convenient. But you can make use of the servo saver. You don't have to rig something up yourself. This kit comes with GA44 axles. Sorry, portal axle fans. No portal axles on this one, unfortunately. The diffs are high clearance with chrome middle diff covers. With this, you're also going to get 45 degrees of steering. So that's a lot of steering clearance. The diffs are locked. They come with a nice little metal locker for both the front and the rear. All the gears are metal. I also really like the modular layout of the chassis. You can move the battery tray around if you want and the receiver box. Also nice and clean with the motor ESC 2-in-1 option. I also really like that the kit comes with inner and outer fenders. It's going to keep mud from kicking up, and it doesn't look as weird to have a wider stance on your rig. The outer fenders cover that really nicely. It is a Lexan body, but it does come with some nice details. The body also needs to be cut out, so make sure that you're doing that before you paint. I actually used the score and snap method for the first time. Use the hobby blade to mark around the Lexan. Then you can start the cut with some Lexan scissors and should just tear a nice clean line. It's kind of hard to get around those corners, but it ended up looking really nice and clean, and would definitely suggest trying that out if you haven't. And these colors, not standard colors I'd actually go with. I looked up a lot of the old 70s Chevys. A lot of them have color blocked natural tones. These are Proline airbrush paints. This brown color is called Dark Earth. The tan stripe here is Mojave Sand. And then I backed that in black. I did a final couple coats of clear Plastidip. That adds a rubberized backing that's going to protect your paint from scratching. To get the bed liner finish on the truck bed, I sprayed a little bit of clear Plastidip on the exterior. I cut away a little bit of the overspray film to expose the bed, gave it a couple coats, and I think it looks really cool. It's also a little rubberized too. One thing that was a pain in the butt though is it provides a decal set, but none of them are cut out. So you have to hand cut those with a hobby knife very, very carefully. Even the window trim here, it would have saved a lot of time if they were pre-cut from the factory. Otherwise, make sure you have a nice steady hand and a nice fresh hobby blade. The front grille here comes painted shiny chrome. I opted to paint that a matte black. If you're going for a chrome build, they also have optional chrome bead locks. But since everything else was black, I feel like it didn't really fit in here. Comes with lighting harnesses. For the front, we have plastic lenses. It would have been nice to have that on the rear as well. The rear just has stickers here. I think that definitely tones down your scale points. Nice rock sliders here. Windshield wipers and door handles. For the body, I printed out my own vinyl to do a custom buffalo. This is the GS02 Buffalo Pickup. I cut a buffalo graphic here for the hood and for the side. I think it looks kind of cool. I also added some decals to the back window. Everyone always asks where I get these. I've accumulated them over the course of a couple years of doing builds. They come with all the different components. And Blood Brothers Graphics also sells a logo decal set, so I'll put a link to that in the description box below. They have a lot of the name brands, so check it out if you're looking for logos. The rear bumper is actually attached to the Lexan body, so that's one of the ways it attaches to the chassis. You have these two attachment points off of the rear bumper, and then to attach the body, you just slide these two rear pins from the rear bumper into the plastic holders, and you insert two body clips in the rear, two body clips in the front, and you're good to go. Also added RC Girl license plate. Got some really cool scale accessories. I bought a Deadman switch on Gmade Hobbies a little while back. It allows you to turn your rig on and off from the exterior. It's hidden as a jerry can. It's a magnetized piece that either breaks or completes the circuit. I didn't realize that the ESC actually has a switch, so you can't just use the Deadman switch to turn it on and off because you need to power the switch. I already drilled the holes and it might have to stay there now. Todd Norton made this 3D printed generator. He gave it to me at Axial Fest 2020. This is a custom made army box by one of my YouTube fans, so a huge thank you for that. Inside it, I have a fire extinguisher and a tow strap. For our suspension, we have a 4-link rear and a 3-link front. This kit has metal links. They do feel a little bit on the cheaper end as far as links go. They're not that heavy. Some of the kits, like you feel, you can pick up the links and they're like, carry a lot of weight. They do the job. And if you want metal ball ends instead of the plastic ones that come with the kit, you can upgrade those as well. I ended up going with the metal ones in mine. It does have coilover shocks with an adjustable collar here, so you can adjust your preload. The shafts are 3.5 millimeters. The kit also comes with a couple different piston options if you want to play around with your dampening. Definitely a plug for picking up a set of shock pliers here. Really going to help with that part of the assembly. The drive shafts come with steel universals and plastic shafts. The universals weren't threaded all the way through. I tried to pre-thread that, but the screw basically just got stuck and I had to drill it out. That was a pain in the butt. I finally got it out and I was able to save that piece, but be careful for that. Don't over tighten things. The kit comes with black plastic bead locks. I ended up actually using my leftover TRX4 tires. I've upgraded these on my TRX4. I had the stock ones lying around. I thought the tires that came with the kit, I believe they're Super Swamper knockoffs. They're 1.9 inner diameter, I think around 4.19 outer diameter. They seemed a little bit too small for me. I went with a bigger tire. I really like how they look on the truck. For my transmitter, I have the DX5 Rugged. You can program multiple models in it, pairing that with a Spektrum SR515 5-channel receiver. Currently using up 4 of the ports, one for my motor ESC, one for my steering servo, one for the shift servo, and then one to power the headlights in the body specifically. Gmade also sells a couple different lighting options. They have the lights for the body itself, 5mm LEDs, 4 white ones up front, 2 red ones in the back. They also sell lights for the front bumper. So we have this light bar here integrated into the front bumper and our 2 fog lights. And they also sell a really nice light bar. I opted to not put the light bar on this truck. It felt a little too overlandy to me, and this truck is a little bit more of a country farm truck. Felt a little out of place. I might install that though if I do a lot of night crawling with this. The lights that integrate into the bumper and the light bar are actually high voltage lights. They can run off 12 volts. So I have those plugging directly into my battery. To be able to connect the lights, I had to do a little soldering. I soldered on my own connectors here, Make sure not to run anything over than a 3S battery, otherwise you'll blow those lights. The lights that go in the body, however, can only be run off 6 volts, so make sure that the BEC output of your speed control only puts out 6 volts, otherwise you can blow those as well. Those are getting power routed through my receiver. So would I recommend the GS02 Buffalo Pickup from Gmade? I definitely would. I think it turned out really cool. Spec'd it with some really nice electronics. I might make a couple more tune adjustments to the Spektrum motor ESC combo. The motor is really smooth, really quiet. One downside, you're gonna need to pick up a separate programming card to be able to access the programming functions with this. I might turn up our reverse speed a little bit, but other than that, I think the settings are really nice for this rig. Nice to see the overdrive and 2-speed shifting out of the box. One thing wasn't so great, it is a little bit hard to work on. Anytime you want to access your servo or your motor, for example, you're gonna have to take a couple series of parts off just to get to those. It would have been nice to think that through a little bit. One thing I didn't like about the wheels is that the only thing holding this piece on is the wheel nut. If you take your wheels off, you can lose that pin super easily, so make sure to keep an eye on that. It would have been nice to have a little set screw holding that in place like I've seen on other kits. But all in all, I really enjoyed building this kit. Huge thank you to Gmade, thanks to Power Hobby, Spektrum, and Proline, and a huge thank you to my patrons on Patreon for your continued support. I know I've been a little bit MIA, so I got a ton of videos. There's actually a couple unreleased things behind me. You guys can't see them yet. I have a lot coming your direction, so stay tuned for that. All right, as always, make sure to like and subscribe, or see you later.